session 7 of the R3 Academy for Couples. We have been on a journey in this workshop. We have learned valuable and relationship-changing tools and skills that will improve all of your relationships, especially those at home with your partner.
Or your kids, and also at work with your colleagues.
As always, you want to make sure you're in a space where you can focus and get your materials ready.
Let's just jump into session 7.
Welcome to World Class Relationships for Work and Home. My name is Judith, and I will be your instructor for this portion of the workshop. Today, we will be discussing 2 very important pillars. Pillar 13, giving an apology as well as forgiveness. And Pillar 14, growing yourself. Let's go ahead and get started. Apologies are truly magic. They have the power to erase the hurt and pain that comes along with problems. And we all know problems are an inevitable part of life. But not only do they have the power to erase some of that pain and bring about healing and forgiveness, apologies actually have the power to bring you closer to your partner or another individual that may have had a conflict with you. Apologies can create this even in the face of very difficult situations. And a lot of the times we don't consider that problems can bring us close together. But when we use the skills, conflict is not something that has to create a divide in the relationship. When we use these skills in an intentional, focused way, they can help us navigate those conflicts with ease, and we can begin to see that conflicts are not something that we have to be afraid of or anxious about. They can bring us closer together, and they can show us that we can work as a team, and that is something that can truly strengthen a marriage. But a lot of the times we don't know what a sincere apology looks or sounds like, even though we desperately want to be able to provide that in the relationship. How many of us have at times heard an apology or received an apology and it further triggered us? Or maybe we've been the ones trying to provide the apology and we realized that instead of making things better, things fell apart even worse. And now we have a new problem. Apology is a skill. It is something that we need to learn how to deliver. And in this pillar, we are going to go ahead and do that for you and with you. We are going to show you the anatomy of an apology, and we're going to talk about some of the main components that need to be present in order for it to come across in the most effective way. We're also going to dive into some of the dynamics that come after giving an apology, such as forgiveness. We need to set the expectations at a healthy level so that we understand what might be happening for the person hearing the apology, as well as when somebody comes and provides us with one, are we quick to forgive, or what are the barriers that prevent us from fully resolving the situation? We need to learn to apologize, and we need to learn to do this well because everyone makes mistakes. There isn't a relationship, whether it's with your partner, coworkers, children, friends, there isn't a relationship that is not going to face problems. And we are all going to do things at one point or another that hurts those around us. And there are many reasons why this happens. I'll give some examples now. We may forget something that we had promised to do. Even if we know all of these skills, we may forget or fail to power listen when our partner has a problem, or maybe when it's exactly what they were needing. We may revert to our previous patterns of trying to fix things instead. We may say or even do something that is hurtful. Remember, every behavior is designed to meet a need, and at one point or another, my needs may interfere with your needs, and that may cause some pain. It's important to know that we will do these things no matter how much we care, respect, and love our partner. These things are bound to happen from time to time. It is not the number of problems that a relationship has that defines their level of marital satisfaction or success. And even within the context of other relationships with coworkers and teams, we can have many problems as we're trying to navigate the different things that come up. So I want you to remember this. Forget about the number of problems. What really is important is how we feel as we are working through those problems. Do I feel heard? Do I feel seen? Do I feel understood? Do I feel respected? And how I feel afterwards, even if we end up realizing that we are very different or that we have different needs. Is there repair in the relationship? People need to be able to repair the damage that takes place during those moments. The good news is that you can always go back and clean things up. This really can make the difference between the level of marital satisfaction being very low versus, yes, we had several problems that we needed to navigate last week, but we used the skills. There was still maybe a little bit of damage done because it's inevitable. But, in the end, we fully went back. And not only did we use those foundational skills, but we actually, took the other steps of going back, assessing any damage, and cleaning it up. And the way to do that is through an effective apology. As I was sharing earlier, apologies have the power to erase the damage that has been done. And not only do they have potential for healing, but they are also very capable of creating closeness, even in the midst of something very difficult. Now that we have established the need for apologies and we have introduced the second layer, which is the forgiveness process, let's talk about the anatomy of an apology. As I was sharing earlier, we have all been the recipient of an apology that just triggered us further, or we have provided an apology that didn't seem to really have the effect that we wanted potentially. So let's look at what is an effective apology. When you apologize to another person, you have to be able to show the other that you realize you have made a mistake. This is foundational. There is no other way around it. You need to be able to sincerely show the other person, I am fully aware that I have made a mistake. And not only that I have made a mistake, but that I was actually wrong. And I acknowledge and see, talking about helping the other person feel seen and understood. And I see that I have hurt you. And you also need to be able to show, I see this, I acknowledge it, but also I regret it. This is something that I feel badly about. These components are essential if we are to utilize apologies in an effective way. Let's look at what are some of the other good keys to a good apology, right? We also have these foundational components throughout the program. We've been talking about genuineness and acceptance and being able to speak truth. An apology that is delivered in such a way has all of these components. We are speaking something that we have now realized is true. I made a mistake. I see the hurt that this has caused you, and I feel badly about it. But now I have to consciously empathize. I need to be able to put myself in the other person's shoes. That other person is hurting and vulnerable, and I need to be able to empathize. And this empathy oftentimes will help you pave the way for acceptance, which is another one of the foundational components throughout the program. If I am moved towards empathy, then it will be a lot easier for me to accept the other person as being angry, frustrated, sad. All of these vulnerable emotions that sometimes lead us into feeling defensive. But if it connects within me, if it clicks, if I know, yeah, no, I really hurt them. This was really my mistake and I feel badly about it. When we see these vulnerable emotions in the other person, we'll be able to accept them much more easily. And we'll be able to facilitate the healing that an apology can bring. Empathy and acceptance will bring genuine remorse and another component, a desire to repair the damage that has been caused. So not only do I see it, I recognize it and feel badly about it, but the other step, the other layer in an apology is I am moved to try to repair the damage. So we're talking now about compassion. Compassion is when I am moved to try and repair something. Not only do I see it and do I hold space for it, but I actively want to see how I can repair the damage. Some of the things that interfere with this process and interfere not only within ourselves, but also for the other person is that in the midst of trying to manage all of that, which is a lot already, we are often trying to justify our actions. And we've said this in the program earlier, but when you power listen to someone, we looked at the conflict resolution cycle and we know we always include prepare for a defensive response after presenting that, that XYZ message. And we prepare by using power listening. We say that because it is human nature. And oftentimes when we listen closely to that defensive response, is the other person desperately trying to share with you that they're not a terrible person. I'll give you a few examples. You go to your spouse and you tell them that they left the car with no gas again, and that made you run late for work. Maybe that they had already done this in the past, so now it's a pattern. And so you go and you initiate that conflict resolution cycle and you deliver a beautiful XYZ message, and now the other person still gives you a defensive response. Listen closely to those, even though they can be really triggering, because you might hear something like, I am so sorry, but, right? It's that but that sometimes interferes with the apology process. I stayed up all night trying to figure out some of our finances because I had seen that you were so stressed about it, and I was just really trying to get ahead. And so I ended up not being able to leave earlier for my work yesterday. So I left the car running on empty, and I'm so sorry, but I really was trying to do this other thing. Or you might go and present an XYZ message to your teenager. Hey, you forgot to take out the trash again. And your teenager might again respond with, oh, I had such a difficult math test. I was up all night, or I was so tired, and it wasn't that I didn't want to. That defensive response, if you listen to it closely, is that attempt of justification. So when it is our turn to apologize, we need to be able to eliminate that piece. We need to really set it aside. There might be a time for it later. It can come possibly afterwards. We can troubleshoot some of those things. But in the moment, in the context of delivering an apology, we want to be able to simply own it. That we realize we have made a mistake, that this mistake has caused pain, and that we feel badly about it. And not only do we feel badly about it, but we want to repair it. So when you apologize from the heart without justification, your partner is much more likely going to be willing to forgive you, as well as whatever damage your behavior may have done to the relationship. These are the essential components if we really want an apology to be delivered effectively and to erase or repair the damage that has been caused. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look now at the difference between an apology and forgiveness, because these two skills are interconnected. Remember, an apology is when you hurt another person by words or actions, and you are able to recognize and take responsibility for those actions and simply state it. No justifications. I am sorry that I did this and that it hurt you in such a way, and I want to repair that damage. This is the only thing that you can control, and it is important to know that it is your contribution to rebuilding and repairing the relationship. Once you've done that, the rest is out of your hands. Forgiveness is that other step that falls on the other person, and it cannot be demanded. It's a decision made by the other. And depending on the situation, it may come immediately. In some instances, it may take time. All of that being said, within the context of a safe, secure relationship, we do want to encourage you to work through whatever is there that impedes you from quickly moving towards forgiveness. And I'll say it again. Obviously, this is coming within the context of a safe, secure relationship. There are damages that can take place that are going to require different types of intervention and more in-depth processes, such as going to therapy. But when we're talking about just like the day-to-day interactions of your needs interfere with my needs, we do want to strongly encourage you to move towards forgiveness and to have that be a foundational piece that you model in your home to your partner, to your children, and at work to your coworkers. Maybe you're a leader, and you are the one that's responsible for modeling all of these things. So what are some of the components that can interfere? What are some of the barriers that sometimes stop us from being able to move towards forgiveness? And I really want to normalize this because we can often struggle with this. It's human nature, just like that compelling impulse to justify our actions and show the other person that we're not bad. We may also struggle with releasing and giving that forgiveness. And some of the things that can be there can be simply physiological processes. We do know that when adrenaline and cortisol has been released throughout our body, it takes a cycle of at least 20 minutes, and that is if we are very intentional to have all of those hormones be released from our body. So if I am in the middle of a conflict and I'm not using the skills, my body may be producing enough adrenaline and cortisol to keep me in that fight response. And I may end up taking a lot longer to emotionally regulate. If I'm using the skills, if I'm power listening, if my partner is power listening, if we are using XYZ messages, if we are using everything that we have been learning throughout the program, if we have genuineness, acceptance, empathy, then our body, our physiology may not see the need to continually pump us with all of these toxins. That being said, once they're released through our bloodstream, we do have to honor that it might take those 20-minute segments for the other person to calm down. So you may go and you may deliver this beautiful apology with all of the key components that we have discussed, and you have bit your tongue and done your best work to not justify or add anything else to it, but it is a pure, true apology. And you might still see that the other person struggles. Remember this workshop. Remember that it might take the other person about 20 minutes to do some deep breathing, to just listen to you. And then they might circle back and say, hey, thank you for that apology. Another piece that might be preventing, let's say that it's us. Let's say that we know that that's us, that it takes us a little bit of time, right? One of the other things that can also interfere is not just the physiology of it, but also that maybe we have a pattern of pouting and we are used to it. And let's talk about pouting a little bit. Let's talk about those moments when we don't want to move towards forgiveness. And again, normalizing it. I know I have done it. But there are times when we are so upset that delaying that forgiveness can be gratifying. It can be satisfying, right? The other person is finally showing that they regret it. So I'm just going to let them sit with it so that it'll really sink in and we can withhold that forgiveness with that intention. But what we know from the research is that those tactics do not work. Remember, we need to be able to speak the truth. And the truth in this instance would be, hey, I'm not ready to continue interacting, but I receive your apology. Thank you for apologizing. I still have some adrenaline and cortisol in my body. I'm going to go. I'm going to listen to some music and I'll be back in about 20 minutes. I love you. Thank you. I hear it. I can still feel it in my body that I need some time, right? You are taking self-responsibility for what's happening within your body, and you're not using it as a tactic to punish the other person. Punishment doesn't produce anything good. We want to be able to utilize skills that are research-based, that really produce good fruit. And pouting is not one of them, no matter how satisfying it might be. So maybe this is a conversation that needs to take place within the home, and we need to be able to recognize if some of those dynamics are there. The important thing about apology is for you to give it, to acknowledge your feelings of regret to your other partner, and recognize that this is the gift that you can give. The rest may need to come from the other person. And when you are on the other side, keep in mind some of the things that we have covered about offering forgiveness. Allow yourself to be quick, if it is within the context of a safe, loving relationship, to be moved towards forgiveness. You're going to see a lot better results. We know this from the research. Your partner is going to feel much more compelled to apologize quicker when a dynamic of this nature is established than when we resort to pouting. And we know that these two things, apology and being led towards forgiveness together, helps to build the foundation of a remarkable marriage. You are now going to have a chance to offer an apology to your partner for something hurtful you said or did in the past. Go ahead and open up your workbooks and locate the apology exercise notes. Here you will be able to organize your apology. What we want you to do is think about an action or statement that you need to apologize for. If nothing comes to mind, you may find some examples that you wrote in 2 earlier exercises: blame awareness and separating behaviors from traits and attitudes. Look for hurtful or blameful things that you may have said or done that you could apologize for in these exercises. When you have chosen the subject of your apology, jot down some keywords to keep you on track. Write key thoughts and feelings for the apology. Remember, we need to be able to show, I realize this, I admit that I made a mistake. Also, I have seen the pain that this has caused, and I moved to try to repair this. Then you can proceed with an apology. And what we're going to ask of you is, we want you to turn towards each other and decide who is going to be A and who is going to be B. When it's your turn to apologize, tell your partner that you realize that you did whatever it is that you did that was blameful or hurtful, or something that you were wrong about that you haven't acknowledged and that you feel bad about. And now you want your partner to know that you sincerely regret that. Remember to not justify, really try to hold all of that in and avoid trying to explain why it is that you did what you did. This is just about delivering a straightforward, healthy apology. It is not the time to try to justify. Partner B is going to power listen. So you may want to go back and also look at some of the key components that will help you power listen to the apology. Your job is to listen carefully and compassionately. Your partner is doing something that is hard to do, and your job is to give them a safe opportunity to practice this important skill. Try to see and hear your partner's regret and respond appropriately and sensitively to it. Remember, try to be led and moved towards forgiveness, and do not use this as a tool for punishment. Once you are done giving your apology, switch sides, and you're going to want to do it all over again. After you complete this exercise, I want you to process some of the following points. I want you to sit and talk about whether or not it felt good to practice giving an apology in this way. Whether or not it felt good to hear someone apologize to you in this way. I also want you to think about whether or not you think you'd respond well if someone utilized this structured apology in real life. Whether or not you think you'd be likely to forgive your partner in real life if they apologize this way about something. And maybe as you're processing this particular key point, you can talk about if there are long-standing things that you've struggled to release and forgive. Do we need additional support, such as a therapeutic process? We also want you to think about and process whether or not you consider that you and your partner in real life would feel closer together after delivering apologies and forgiveness to each other in such a way. Let's go ahead and once again take a look at the power of forgiveness and do a recap of some of the things that might have already been mentioned. When your partner makes a heartfelt apology, forgive as soon as you are able. If you are unable to forgive within a reasonable time, check to see if you are holding on to your anger or your resentment to punish your partner for the transgression. And we talked about pouting, we talked about sulking, all of those things that are human nature, and we have to very intentionally recognize and stop ourselves from continuing to do. The power of forgiveness also lies in recognizing that it will often help to reduce the need to punish and allow you to forgive. The more we do this, it's a muscle. The more we recognize it, the more that muscle will lose its power, and we will actually gain stronger muscles in the area of forgiveness. So we want to very intentionally practice this. If not, ask for power listening from your partner while you talk about how hard it is for you to get over your pain, like I was sharing. If you are finding yourself in that space and you are recognizing my body is still pumped with stress, it's still pumped with adrenaline, I'm actively working to make these things subside, but I am still hurting, then power listening can also be something that you genuinely request from your partner. I'm really struggling with this right now. Can you power listen to what's going on for me? Remember to share your difficulty in this way, and to do so in a way that is not blameful for your partner. You don't want to interfere with the process, so that you really want to avoid using this to blame. Talk about what is going on for you internally. Getting some good power listening will usually release those retaliatory feelings and allow you to feel a divine forgiveness. That is what the relationship is really needing. Let's provide a final recap on giving a good apology. A good apology includes conscientiously empathizing with the other person, acceptance of the other person's hurt, showing genuine remorse, not justifying your actions. And the key differences between apology and forgiveness. Remember, apologies are within our control. It is what we can do to repair that damage. Forgiveness is controlled by the other person. And at that time, it is something that we have to work in the dynamic to recognize and surrender. Let's go ahead and start covering pillar 14, growing yourself. Growing yourself is an important component of having a world-class relationship, both at work and at home. And it connects to all of the other skills that we have been working on. A lot of emphasis is placed in our personal lives upon the importance of growing together as a couple. That is probably one of the main reasons why you are deciding to attend this workshop. Meanwhile, it is equally important to grow within yourself as an individual to increase your success and satisfaction in both your work life and in your personal life. Life is all about growth, and it is all about the learning process throughout the journey. From day one in our lives, we have been facing challenges of all kinds, right? We need to be able to learn new skills in order to become capable of handling the challenges as they arise. And we do so from the beginning of our life, learning how to eat solid foods, learning how to sit, learning how to crawl, learning how to walk, learning how to talk, eventually navigating school and relationships. Life will always be challenging us in different ways. And even as adults, when we think maybe those challenges are done, that is not quite the case. There's always a need to continue learning and growing ourselves. Growth is and always has been an important component of success. So it is really essential that we include it in this program, that we're not just doing so within the context of the couple, but within the context of ourselves as well. So, what are some of the benefits of growing as a person, as an individual? When we do so, we are absolutely going to feel more capable, not just within ourselves and the challenges that we face at work, but also within the context of the relationship. We're going to be able to be more sensitive as a person, more discerning. We will also be able to feel more adept at take care of our own needs. And this can release a lot of room and energy in the relationship when we are capable of managing our own emotional health, our intellectual development, when we are very intentional about being psychologically strong, personally and professionally networked, skillful. All of these things are life-giving to our relationships. Let me ask you this. What are some other benefits that could come from allowing yourself to grow individually as a person? Go ahead and take some time to process this and do so not only for yourself, but think about within the context of the relationship, what would it look like if both of us were thriving? Let's take a moment to do a guided recall. In this next exercise, I want to give you an opportunity to get more in touch with yourself and some of the ways that you might want to grow. I'm going to give you an opportunity now through what we call a guided recall exercise to think back and get in touch with some of the thoughts about yourself that you've had, and to give you a chance to make these thoughts more of a reality in your life. In this exercise, you will get in touch with some earlier thoughts and memories, some that may seem familiar to you, and some that may come as a surprise. Don't worry about whatever comes to mind. There is no right or wrong way to do this exercise. Whatever comes to mind is okay. Let's go ahead and jump in. I want you to relax and sit comfortably in your chair. Shake out any tension that you might have in your body. Take a moment and just find a comfortable position. Maybe sit back comfortably in your chair with your hands on your legs. We've come to the end of session 7. Let's go ahead and do a recap on growing yourself. Here, it is time to review what we've covered and personalize what was especially important for each of you. Remember, growing as a person has many benefits. Growing yourself allows you to develop and maintain a sense of wholeness and integrity. Growing yourself makes you more valuable as an employee, as well as within the context of all of your relationships. Life is all about growth and is an important component of our success as human beings.
That was fantastic. We now have been together in this journey for 7 sessions.
Now, unless you have photographic memory, you may have forgotten some of the skills that we have learned, especially learned early on. So as we begin to draw this portion of the course to a close, let's take a few moments to highlight some of them again.
Back in session 2, we spoke about the importance of setting goals. It is very common for relationships to fall into the trap of monotony, where it sometimes feels that we're in a trance. We get up, make our kids and partners lunch, go to work, come home and make/eat dinner, a little TV and sleep, then rinse and repeat.
There is a danger in living our lives this way because this is where boredom sets and it can ruin a relationship. That is why it is important to have dreams, goals, and aspirations, something to look forward to. A dream vacation, buying a house, starting a hobby, etc.
In session 3, we also talked about power listening and assuming self-responsibility. If you can make your home a safe place by listening to your loved ones, it will bring your family closer. Remember, the goal of power listening is simply to become a mirror to them. Your job is not to fix their problem, whatever that may be, but to allow them the space to talk it out or vent without your interference. It's not about you at the moment. It's about their feelings.
Assuming self-responsibility is also important because a lot of times we rely on others to provide joy and happiness to our lives. That's your own job. Yes, your partner may be able to assist you in some ways, but at the end of the day, it's your own responsibility.
In session 4, we also learned how to express how a loved one's behavior affects you, but in a much healthier way, using the XYZ message.
In the subsequent sessions, we've also learned about how to handle hot topics, how our listening is vital, and how to give love, caring the way it matters. We also call it the 5 love languages. We need to learn to fill our loved ones' love tanks with the type of love that they seek.
These are just some of the pillars or tools that we have learned to date. I encourage you to review your own notes in your workbook so that these skills remain fresh in your mind.
Great job. We can't wait to see you again next time.